She lived in a world most people only dream about. Private jets, luxury penthouses, and a steady $10,000 allowance just for being part of his inner circle. But what she endured behind the closed doors of that lifestyle is now unraveling in a courtroom, painting a chilling portrait of one of the most powerful men in entertainment. Her name remains hidden. She's only known as Jane, but this anonymous witness may become the turning point in the federal trial against Sean Diddy Combs, the music mogul who once defined hip-hop royalty, now fighting for his legacy and his freedom. For the second day in a row, Jane sat before a judge and jury and described a life that sounds more like a psychological nightmare than a glamorous relationship. She spoke of being pressured into uncomfortable late-night gatherings that left her emotionally drained, physically unwell, and constantly overwhelmed. According to Jane, she was expected to coordinate situations that made her feel deeply uneasy, while people close to Diddy helped ensure everything was arranged without question. Prosecutors are taking her story seriously. To them, this isn't about private matters or celebrity relationships. It's about uncovering a larger calculated structure of behavior, one that involves not just individuals, but an entire support system allegedly designed to protect one man's demands. They claim that behind the scenes, this wasn't just a lifestyle, it was a network, a carefully maintained operation built on pressure, secrecy, and financial leverage. And Jane, she wasn't just a bystander, she was, in her words, caught in the middle of it all. Evidence introduced so far points to the transportation of substances across state lines, individuals allegedly assigned to manage sensitive tasks, and messages prosecutors say reveal a pattern of control. Jane even described something she called a love contract, an agreement where her monthly financial support was directly tied to her willingness to meet expectations. If she refused, the support could vanish. And this isn't the only testimony causing waves. R&B singer Cassie has already come forward with eerily similar claims. More witnesses may follow, and with each voice added to the case, the picture being painted grows more troubling. Diddy has denied all allegations and pleaded not guilty, but if even a fraction of these stories hold up in court, the impact won't just be legal, it could dismantle the legacy of one of music's most influential figures. So what really happened behind the scenes? And why are prosecutors convinced this wasn't just a series of questionable choices, but a long-running operation? Let's break it down. Jane isn't someone seeking headlines. She has no public platform, no fame to promote. Her real name hasn't been released to protect her identity, but behind that anonymity is a woman prosecutors say holds key information about the case. Her relationship with Diddy began in 2021. It wasn't casual. She says she was deeply involved in his personal life, living in his world, and exposed to his routines and inner circle. That closeness, that access, is what makes her story so critical. She says she didn't just witness what happened, she lived it. In the courtroom, Jane was composed, but her words carried weight. She spoke about subtle but powerful forms of pressure, expectations that were never quite said aloud but always understood, routines that made her feel more like a participant in something structured than a partner in a relationship. Prosecutors are using her account to build their case, not just against Diddy as an individual, but against the system they claim he created and controlled. Their goal? To prove that what Jane experienced wasn't isolated. It was part of a pattern, something organized, deliberate, and far more serious than a personal relationship gone wrong. According to Jane, there were evenings that followed a very specific routine. They were referred to as hotel nights, a nickname that sounded harmless on the surface, but as Jane described, came with emotional weight. She says she was expected to arrange for guests, often individuals she barely knew, to come to the hotel and join her. Sometimes she booked flights. Other times she made sure cash was prepared. In one case, Jane paid for someone to travel from Atlanta to New York. She left money at the front desk. She made sure everything was set, and according to her, she did it because she felt she didn't have a choice. It wasn't just the coordination that bothered her. It was the emotional toll. Jane admitted that many times she relied on substances to get through those nights. Not for fun, but to disconnect, to detach. One night, though, she didn't take anything. She remained completely clear-minded, and she said it hit her hard. The reality of what she had become part of, and how far she had drifted from what felt right. The encounters weren't random. There were always messages, plans, confirmations. Jane said it became a pattern, something Diddy expected, and something she had to follow through with. To her, it wasn't a relationship anymore. It was a role. Jane's testimony also included moments that raised deeper legal concerns. In one one example, she was asked to fly from Los Angeles to Miami with a package. She said the request didn't come directly from Diddy, but from someone close to him, his chief of staff, Christina Coram. Jane picked up the package from a member of Diddy's security team, placed it in her checked luggage, and boarded the flight. When she opened it, she discovered what she described as a recreational substance. This moment is key for prosecutors because it suggests coordination, not just use, but transport and facilitation. Jane said she had seen Diddy request similar deliveries from staff on other occasions. These weren't one-time instances. They were regular, she claimed, and always quiet. If her claims hold up, they add support to the racketeering charge. Because racketeering isn't just about wrongdoing, it's about organization, and Jane's story suggests there were multiple people involved, each playing a role. From assistants to security staff, the picture Jane painted wasn't just of one man's actions, but of a system built around him. At the time of the trial, Jane's rent, a staggering $10,000 a month, was still being paid by Diddy, but she told the court this wasn't generosity, it was leverage. Jane described an agreement, something she referred to as a love contract. In it, Diddy agreed to support her financially for 2 years. On the surface, it sounded stable, but Jane said it became a tool of control. She explained how every time she hesitated or said she wasn't comfortable with something, there was an unspoken consequence. If she didn't follow through with plans, the tone of his messages changed. The warmth disappeared. She shared one moment when she was planning a large gathering for Diddy involving people from past events. She started feeling unwell and backed out. She sent messages explaining her condition, but the response she received felt cold, dismissive, and detached, like a switch had flipped. Jane says that moment made her realize how fragile her position was. The money, the support, it was conditional, and it depended on her continued cooperation. Even when she tried to put an end to everything, she found herself arranging one final event, because the fear of losing everything was more powerful than her discomfort. Jane didn't just speak about the emotional weight of her experiences, she described the physical toll as well. She told the court that after nearly every encounter, she experienced discomfort and pain. Infections were common. Her health, she said, was often affected, but she rarely spoke up. Why? Because she didn't want to seem negative. She didn't want to risk upsetting Diddy. She didn't want to jeopardize her stability. She said that over time, she stopped feeling anything at all. She was going through the motions. And it wasn't until she stayed completely clear-headed one night that everything came crashing down. The weight of it all, the pressure, the pain, the silence. Jane shared a text message she sent in 2021. I need a breather and a break from you. This doesn't make me feel good at all. Your intentions are in plain sight. But even after saying that, she stayed. In 2023, she finally told Diddy she couldn't do it anymore. No more hotel nights, no more planning things that made her feel sick inside. According to her, Diddy didn't argue. He told her they didn't have to continue, but later that same night, they did. She arranged one last event. She booked the room. She paid for the guest. She made sure everything was in place. Why? When prosecutors asked her, she paused, visibly shaken, and then she said, "I just wanted to make him happy." That one sentence said everything. Jane's story would be shocking enough on its own, but she's not alone. Cassie Ventura, who spent over a decade in a relationship with Diddy, also testified, and her story followed the same pattern: pressure, isolation, emotional exhaustion, and routines that made her feel powerless. She said she lost connections. She said she felt controlled, and she described moments that matched Jane's almost exactly. Two women, two different time periods, but nearly the same story. And that's what's causing waves in the courtroom. This case is about more than one man's behavior. It's about accountability for what's done in private, behind the curtains of fame. Prosecutors are painting a picture of long-term control, hidden pressure, and calculated planning. And if they're right, this could be one of the most significant trials the entertainment world has seen in years. For Jane, this is about reclaiming her voice. For Cassie, it's about validation. And for Diddy, it might be the final chapter in a legacy the world thought it understood, but never truly saw.